In 2002, a 73-year-old man in Croatia bought a lottery ticket for the first time in decades and won nearly $1 million, which on its own is a perfectly nice little story. Except this same man had also, over the previous 45 years, survived a train crash, a plane crash, a bus that drove into a river, a different bus that hit him, and two separate cars that caught fire with him still inside. 7 times, death lined up a clean, easy shot at this guy and missed. His name was Frane Selak, and the universe spent half a century actively trying to remove this man from the game, failed every single time, and then, apparently out of pure spite, handed him the lottery. This is the story of the luckiest unlucky man who ever lived. Now, to understand the kind of plot armor we're dealing with, you first have to understand who this guy actually was. Frane Selak was not a stuntman, he was not a soldier. He was a music teacher. His entire character build was mild-mannered Croatian man who teaches kids the recorder. 0 combat stats, no tragic backstory, and yet somehow every available point got quietly dumped into pure survival, and he never even noticed. One honest disclaimer first, because we're not liars here. A lot of this is, let's say, lovingly unverified. Even Frane told it a little differently every time he was asked, but the legend is far too good not to walk through. So picture a video game where every few years the universe just wakes up, chooses violence, throws a death screen at this one man, and he refuses every single time to accept it. Encounter 1. 1957. Frane is on a bus, minding his own business when the bus skids off the road and dives straight into a freezing river. The bus starts filling with water, and Frane, who at this point has no idea he's even in a survival game, swims out, drags himself up the bank, and walks away with a few cuts and a brand new, deeply reasonable fear of public transport. Most people go their entire lives without a single "my vehicle went into a river" story. Frane just unlocked the first of several. Consider it the tutorial level. 1962. 5 years later, Frane gets on a train, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Buddy, why are you still boarding vehicles? But it's the 60s, he doesn't own a car, and he genuinely does not know yet that he's fate's #1 target. The train hits a bad stretch of track, derails, and plunges into an icy river. Several passengers drowned. Frane did not. He fights his way out, swims to shore for the second time, this time with a broken arm and hypothermia. 2 freezing rivers in 5 years. Water is officially his recurring boss arena now, and whatever's hunting him is 0 for 2, and visibly losing patience. 1963. And this is the one that, I'm just going to say it, sounds completely fake. Frane is on a plane, his first time ever flying, and, spoiler, his last, when a door malfunctions in midair and blows wide open, and Frane gets sucked out of the aircraft, just gone. Launched into open sky, no parachute, nothing. The plane goes on to crash. And Frane lands in a haystack. A haystack. This man fell out of an airplane and took 0 fall damage because the game forgot to despawn the one soft object in the entire Croatian countryside and left it sitting directly underneath him like a checkpoint. He reportedly came to in a pile of hay, scratched up but alive, listening to a plane crash somewhere in the distance. The death screen popped up and just refused to load. If you put that in a movie, people would walk out and ask for a refund. So after getting launched out of the sky, Frane made the extremely reasonable decision that he was done with public transport and bought himself a car, which the cosmos took as a personal insult. 1970. He's driving when the car spontaneously catches fire. He clocks the leaking fuel, bails, and the tank detonates behind him. Water didn't work, so it switched to a fire build. And then, because once apparently wasn't enough, it ran it straight back. 1973. Different car. A faulty fuel pump hoses gasoline into the engine, and flames come roaring up through the air vents into his face. He lives. Of course he lives. But this time the fire takes most of his hair, which is the exact moment you realize the thing hunting him is out of real attacks and has been reduced to a final boss with no mana left, auto-attacking his hairstyle. Frane walks away alive, noticeably more bald, and, the genuinely unhinged part, still completely willing to get into cars. Then there's a quiet stretch. A couple of decades where whatever runs this simulation is presumably in a back room somewhere, reviewing the footage, trying to figure out what the hell keeps going wrong. And then, 1995. Frane, now in his late 60s, is walking through Zagreb and gets hit by a bus. Now, in anime, that's a guaranteed kill. Getting hit by a vehicle is the single most reliable way to die in all of fiction. It is the literal premise of the entire isekai genre. Truck-kun has launched more main characters into other worlds than any character in history. So it called in the bus, ran the most proven one-shot in all of storytelling, and Frane just walked it off. Minor injuries, didn't die, didn't even get isekai'd into another world. It lined up the most basic attack in the entire game and still could not close it out. At this point, it's genuinely embarrassing for the universe. 1996, the seventh attempt, and for the finale, it pulls out everything it has left. Frane is driving a mountain road when a truck comes barreling around a blind bend, dead at him. He swerves. His car smashes through the guardrail and sails clean off the side of the mountain. And as the car goes over the edge, Frane throws himself out of the open door and grabs onto a tree. So now he's hanging off the side of a cliff, holding a tree, watching his own car tumble 300 feet into the gorge and explode at the bottom. That's number 7. A 67-year-old music teacher outstunted an actual stuntman, dangling from a branch while his car detonated below him like the cold open of an action film. By every law of physics, he should have been cooked. Anyone else would have crashed out on the spot. Frane just climbed back up. Because what else is he going to do? And then, after 45 years, the universe did the one thing nobody saw coming. It gave up. In 2002, Frane Selak, now 73, buys a lottery ticket and wins nearly $1 million. 7 clean shots with gravity, fire, water, momentum, public transit, and the literal sky. All whiffed. So it just rage quit, respect its entire build from assassin all the way over to sugar daddy, and dropped the rarest loot in the game directly into his lap. The RNG did a full 180, the single biggest W in recorded history. And that's the funny version. But the part that actually sticks with you is what Frane did next. Because after a lifetime of being Fate's most wanted target, you'd expect him to be a paranoid, twitchy wreck who never left the house again. The complete opposite. He gave most of the money away. To family, to friends, to people who needed it more than he did. He kept a little, bought a home, and said the kind of thing only a man who's personally been thrown out of an airplane has earned the right to say. That all the money in the world is worth nothing, and the real wealth is just being alive. He said he never once thought of himself as unlucky. He thought he was the luckiest man on earth, and because he was still here. Now, is every detail of this 100% true? Almost certainly not. Even Frane told the stories a little differently over the years, and nobody has ever fully verified the whole getting sucked out of a plane into a haystack thing, which honestly, fair. But that's almost the point. Whether the real number was 7 disasters or 4, this is a man who looked at a life that kept actively trying to end him and decided every single time that the correct response was to get back up, keep teaching, and keep getting in the car. He died in 2016, at 87, peacefully, at home, of nothing in particular. After all of it, the rivers, the fire, the open sky, it never actually got him. It just had to stand there and wait for him to log off on his own terms. Anyway, that's the luckiest unlucky man who ever lived.